Hi guys, Brent Abel here, WebTennis, and I want to talk to you briefly about your overhead and doubles. And specifically what I want to talk to you about is how to help you get back much quicker when the lob goes up. And the big challenge we have here in doubles is being able to not only cover these short lobs, which really for most of us, when you get a short lob up here in doubles, you're probably going to go ahead and either put the ball away or else you're going to do something with it where you're going to get probably an easier shot on the next one from your opponents. But the big challenge is when we're up here at net. I know we're all trying to sort of take charge. We're trying to do a little fake poaching, a little bit of poaching, but once that opponent lobs mid-range to deep over your head, the big problem is we just don't cover that lob. We don't play the overhead well enough. And the real reason that we don't is that when the lob goes up, you're here in your ready position, and as the lob goes up, the first thing you do is you take a look at it and you hesitate just a moment trying to figure out what's the depth of that lob going to be. And if the depth ends up being short, just like we said, no problem. But once it goes deeper than that, once it goes to your service line, or past your service line, that's where we really have a challenge. And again, the problem is you turn for just a nanosecond right here, trying to figure out what's the depth, how deep is it going to be, and as you're trying to figure that out, that ball's getting deeper on you, and the next thing you know is you try to go back on it, and you just don't hit a very good overhead. So, what are we going to do about this? Well, first thing I want you to do is I want you to check your ready position when you're playing. So that just as your opponent's about to make their shot, whether they're going to drive the ball, slice it or lob it, is I want you to make sure in your ready position that you don't have this kind of look where you've got the arms straight out here, you're very tense, you're very strong in the grip, your whole body is just kind of locked up, and visually when you do that, when you get that tense, you don't pick up the ball very, very quickly and very cleanly. And if you're trying to determine what the depth is on that lob from your opponent, if you're super strong in the grip, visually you don't track the ball very well. So what I want you to work on are a couple things. Number one is make sure that you've got a very relaxed ready position. I don't mean that you're sloppy where you're just kind of hanging out here, but that you've got your elbows hanging down, you don't have a tight grip on the handle, you really have your hands in a relaxed position. The only time you really need to firm up the grip is on that volley when you're just about to make contact, and even then you don't want the death grip. So anything prior to that, you don't need to be squeezing. So number one is to get that good ready position going, and then number two, as soon as you see the lob go up, I want you to instantly turn and start taking 2 or 3 steps back. If you turn on the lob and you instantly go back and then it's short, it is much easier to come back in and play that put away overhead than if you turn, hesitate, and then you have to go back. It just doesn't work. Okay, here's the drill that I want you to practice, and you can be on the tennis court to do this, you can be at home, you can be in the garage, you can be in the backyard. No excuses. You don't have to be in the tennis court to be able to develop this footwork pattern that you really need to work on. And it's not difficult. Anyone can do this, but you simply got to put in those few minutes, maybe 5 minutes a day, whatever it is, to be able to develop this response to whenever your opponent, especially in doubles, throws up that lob. So the first part of this drill is to make sure that you're in that good ready position where your hands are soft on the grip. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to sink your knees down so that you really kind of load up the legs, and the first thing you do is, if you're right-handed, I want you to go ahead and turn and take your right foot and place it backwards in this position here so you quickly get going backwards. So again, very soft hands, we sink down, we turn, and we go back 2 or 3 steps. What is this? We sink 1, 2, 3, and by that point, you're going to be able to know if you have to keep going. That's going to at least get you back to your service line quickly, and by then, you're going to be able to determine the depth of that lob. So not only is this footwork in terms of being quick important, but what I want you to start to develop is a quiet head, meaning that when you do this, your eyes are very quiet, your head's kind of floating on the top of your shoulders, so visually you get to track the ball as you're moving backwards. And just like we said earlier in this video, the big problem is that we turn for a second right here trying to get still so we can track the depth of that lob, and you really have to do that as you're moving backwards. Now look, I know this drill looks really simple. I mean, you're probably going, you know, this is obvious. This is just way too easy. You're right, but the problem is your response is not to first go back. Your response right now is to turn, look, and then you go back. So really, here's what I want you to start thinking about in terms of strategy with your overhead. Anytime you get a lob that's short, you know, relatively short from maybe the back third of the service box up here to the net, this is really going to feel like an overhead put away opportunity, and you should go for it. I mean, the last thing I want you to do is kind of push it, and you know, if you guys lose the point, it's because you pushed it and didn't do anything. Much rather have you in here really going after that overhead, and if you miss it, you miss it, but that's a better way of losing that point than if you just kind of baby it and push it. Now the other thing is, when you do have to go back service line or even deeper, I want you thinking that your overhead is now an approach shot opportunity. Really, most of us don't have good enough overhead mechanics wise from back here in the court to really be able to put the ball away, and even if you have a good overhead, you know, and if you don't find an open spot, the last thing you want is give them some pace for that overhead, and now you're caught back here instead of no man's land as your opponents play the shot back to you. So really, anytime this overhead opportunity is not short where you have to go back, really I want you thinking about playing it as an approach shot as opposed to a put away opportunity from this area of the court. Now the chances are, if you play that as an approach overhead, you might hit a winner. That's fine, but at least you're hedging your bets that you're reclaiming that good net position that you want in doubles. Any questions, any feedback, any comments, right below the video in the comments area, let me know. Hope this has helped. Have a great day out there today.